Hi there, Simon Atkins here. I thought I'd show you something that I think is pretty cool that I kind of stumbled across, but I think it really highlights the importance of understanding cycles when you purchase and your timing. And because there are cycles, and it means they go around in a cyclic manner. In other words, what's happened before tends to repeat itself as time goes on. We can learn something from it. So if I get this out of the way, and if we just show on this timeline here, which I happened to find because my partner bought this property, and I saw that it showed the history of sales from this property. And let's go through it and just see what happened, because I've got some pretty cool things to share with you here. So the first one we can see, if we look down here, it was built in 1965, this property, and it's an apartment, by the way. So it was built in 1965, and the first sale was to the first person other than the original owner was for $31,500. So we'll say, if I just write here, person A purchased this property for $31,500, and they held it for 8 years. Okay, so person A held it for 8 years and went from 31.5 to 78. So we can already tell that's more than doubling in 8 years. So that's a very good return. So I worked that out on my sheet here, and that's actually worked out as 12% each year compounded. So every single year they got 12% growth on their property. It possibly wasn't exactly every single year. It would have been higher on some years and probably a little bit lower in one or two of those other years within that 8-year cycle. But the fact of the matter is it's averaged out over 12% each year for 8 years. And they haven't had to wait a long time to get that. They've got that pretty much off the bat, because holding it for 8 years is a relatively shortish period of time. And of course that is, I'll put a C there, it's compounded. So every year it's 12% on top of 12% on top of 12%. So really good result there. So now we've got person B that's come in, and they've bought it in 1995, as you can see here, and they've bought it for $78,000, and another 8 is that 8 years? Yes, another 8 years or thereabouts, and it's gone from 78 to 135. So then now we can see it's not quite a doubling, but still really good growth rate, which I worked out as a compounded rate of 7% per year compounded that person has received for those 8 years. All right, so again, person B's done very nicely. You know, they'd be pretty happy with that. Bought it for $78,000, $135,000. It's not quite a doubling, but it's not too far off that in that shortish period of time. Okay, 2003, obviously person C purchased it now for $135,000, and then they've held it for only 5 years, and it's exploded pretty much, 135 to 292. I mean, we can see that's a pretty good result there, because it's again more than doubled in just 5 years. And if I look at what I worked that out to be, 2003 to 2008, that is 17%, believe it or not, 17% per year compounded for each of those 5 years. So this person C has done incredibly well. And in fact, if you look at all of these people, they've done really well. So now we come to person D. Okay, now this, you've got to remember, this period here, 1988, where we've got the sales figures, through to 2008 is a 20-year period. Okay, so that was a golden period, you'd have to say. Normally they talk about property averaging around about 7% a year compounded each year over a period of time. And that means if you were to do 7% per year over 20 years, that this property would have, its final value here would have been $126,000. And obviously it's gone way beyond that. It's actually doubled again, or more, and plus a little bit more than that. So it's gone way, way beyond. Now you can see that because this person has, the first thing I should actually say here, while you're looking at this so you're not getting confused, they've doubled this number up here for some reason. I don't know why. So I'll just get rid of this one here. Okay, they're the same thing, but it's just been put in there twice, and I'm not quite sure why. So, but person D had this property from 2008 to 2021. Ironically, the longest out of any of these people to actually hold the property, and yet they did the worst out of it. Now, my partner under my tutelage bought this property for $283,000. It was on the market for over $300,000. It sat there for a little while. No one was showing that much interest in it. We'd had a bit of growth in the past year. She only bought it like I don't know, 8 months ago now, and she's done a renovate. As a side point, she's done a reno on it, and she's added above and beyond the actual costs of the renovation and the purchase cost. She's added around about $50,000 worth of equity. So ironically, in 6 months, she's got more value out of it than this person that's held it for 13 years. But my point here is that because the market during this period here was so unbelievably strong, it's so unbelievably strong, way outside of the norm, that really it got to that point where property prices had become way outside of inflation rates in terms of people getting wage rises and that type of thing, and it had actually gone gangbusters during this period of time. And what we see here is really from 2008 to 2021, or probably more likely 2020, around about that 12-year period, we've seen a massive cooling off because it's just unsustainable for that market to keep going like that. So I suppose my point of doing this is, when you've invested in property and sometimes you can hold it for a few years and you feel a bit down that maybe it hasn't done that well, it's because you're in this part of the cycle when it's already done its thing. Now, it's crazy it is. This did its thing for a long period of time. And it really did work well. But as I've always said to everyone who's ever bought a property, you're going to get all the economic seasons: the summer, the winter, the autumn, and the spring, and you've got to be prepared for all of those. Now, ideally, we don't want to be buying in a bad market, but the key is it's better to buy in the down cycle once the market's hit the bottom. Than buying somewhere around here like this woman did in 2008, which was really just at the time of the GFC in 2007, and when things really flattened off. So it's important to understand that the cycles are more important than almost anything. If you know where we are in the cycle, you can time your property purchase a lot better. It's not always easy to know when you're going to come out of that low end of the cycle, but once it's been there for a while, you know that you're due for the growth sector. In much the same way as over this period here, this kind of golden period, we were probably due for a few years of stability and really the housing market just being pretty flat over that period of time, which is what it's done. So I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found it worth your 10 minutes or whatever this has been, because you can certainly take this and you can learn from it and you can look into the future. And whilst not these cycles aren't exactly something that happens every single week, every day, in the sense that you know exactly which day it's going to turn and which month it's going to turn or whatever, it does give you an idea as to what happens, particularly the reason why we've had such a flat period in the market over such a protracted period of 12 years, because it did so well over a long period of time. All right, I hope you found that useful, and I hope to talk to you again soon.